everyone, and welcome to my channel Neither Art History, where I'm sitting telling you some art history stories while at this point occasionally knitting. And welcome to another video about another amazing woman artist. I have this spree for the past videos we're talking about women. I mean, just overall on this channel we're talking a lot about women artists. And so today we are gonna be talking about, as you can see, Valentyna Sanina-SHLEE, who was an American designer of Ukrainian descent. Not a lot of info about her, unfortunately. No books dedicated to her either, so it's just, a lot of different articles that I compiled into, that I will just basically retell you. The designs, this woman herself, just mesmerizing. I fell in love with her just from first few photos that I saw of her and of her designs. So I decided that we need to talk about this. I really need to tell this about to tell about her to someone at least. And so so good thing that I have this channel and I can yap a bit here about her. So unfortunately I will not be able to recommend you any literature or something like that, but I will leave down below some links where you'll be able, maybe to look a bit more in depth into her designs and her clothes that she made. But in terms of info, there's not a lot. Well, maybe somewhere in the future someone will make some kind of publication, some kind of book dedicated to her, but it will be very hard, and you will find out why in a bit. So I will not need anything again today. I will just sit and talk with you. So without further ado, let's dive into our video today. There is not a lot about Valentyna's life that we know, partly because, she herself was actually quite a bit a liar, so we can say. So she was constantly creating new scenarios about who she was and where she's coming from, about her family, her upbringings, and etc, etc. And so prior to her period in Ukraine and then in Europe, we don't really know a lot about that. Mostly what we know is her immigration period, her US period. So stories about her life prior to US, we are not really sure what was going on with her, and she, as I understood, she was not again talking a lot about that, and even if she was constantly creating certain lies about that. So what we know for a fact is that Valentyna was born in Kiev. So we know that for sure. However, even her date of birth is quite a bit it's unknown for again, because she was hiding her real age. But you will see that the most cited date is May 1st, 1899. However, in some sources, again, you will see 1894. So we don't really know what was going on, her childhood and everything. But after the October Revolution in 1917, Valentyna moved to Kharkiv, where she completed drama courses. And she was playing a bit in the theaters there. But then, after a few years in Kharkiv in 1920, she decided to move to Sevastopol, it's Crimea. And why? Because that was at this point the only easy way how you could have immigrated from Soviet Union, because she was thinking of about immigration, whatever, grammatics, for quite a while, because she really wanted to escape Soviet Union as a normal person. And so she got to Sevastopol. There she met George Schlee, who became her future husband, and became her husband in the future. Yes, again, grammatics. And he was telling also that they met one another on the railway station, and it was kind of love at first sight, something like that. First they left to Turkey, obviously by Black Sea, and through Turkey they got to Greece. They lived there for a little bit. Then they got to Italy, and through Italy they got to France, where they stayed for another few years. And interestingly, you might see in some resources that it's actually in Paris that Valentyna Sanina-SHLEE, she earned this startup capital for future business in one of the cabarets that she was working, that she was performing. And very beautiful, very graceful, and I think you will agree with me, quite kind of mesmerizing. I mean, she, in terms of physical appearance, she is like the epitome of my taste. Like, when I saw her, I was like, wow, that is my dream woman. So she had a very big success with public, and if male half of the viewers, they pay tribute to Sanina's beauty, obviously the females, the woman part, they admired her costumes, which due to lack of funds, the dancer suit herself. And the design of her stage outfits was mostly highly appreciated by the famous also scenographer Lev Bakst, and allegedly it was he coming backstage after one of the performances who advised Sanina to try herself in designing clothes, to become a designer. So then in 1923, she and George, or Georgi in Ukrainian, so they immigrated to the US. And at first, Sanina-SHLEE worked as a model in America, but this is not what she's known as now, obviously. And so the Ukrainian immigrant successfully emphasized her appearance with clothes, with accessories, with hairstyles, and other details. The woman sued her own clothes, as he said, which were completely opposite to the American canons at the time. So Valentyna appeared at various events in long tight dresses with this high waist and also high neckline. And when everyone had at this point a square haircut, Valentyna grew a thick braid, and she was actually often putting it around her head. Because I will remind you that it was 1920s. It's I think everyone is familiar with 1920s fashion in America, so she was obviously very unique at this point. And about Georgi, or George, right? At this time, he began to first of all, he began to be called George, on this English manner, American manner, and he built a career as a fairly successful, actually, theater impresario. To be honest, I'm not sure what is that, but before that he decided to take a risk with some stock market operations, and this is actually what brought him a huge fortune in the future. And all of this gave the pair the opportunity to appear at parties and in theatrical and some cinematographic circles. Yes, and obviously these appearances, Valentyna used it as some kind of advertising for her dresses, for her designs, because she, in her impressive dresses of her own production, again, she sewed all of this herself, she attracted the attention of actresses, of just overall very rich women, and she made them admirers and clients of her fashion house in the future. So she wore simple dresses but added drama to her looks with accessories such as triangular hats, for example, and some snoods also. And once it is remembered that she arrived at opera wearing a hat filled with dry ice, so it looked like her hat was steaming or something like this. So she was kind of using also this performances to her appearances on public. Soon, somewhere around 1925, I believe, the world saw the small workshop Valentyna. And then in 1928, Valentyna opened her first fashion house and fashion boutique, Valentyna Gowns, in New York. And in this small store on Madison Avenue in New York, only 13 dresses were presented at first, and when they just opened. However, sales reached $19,000 in the first year. And her dresses obviously were out of reach for most, because the average price of a Valentyna dress in the 1930s was $250, and in the 1950s it was around $600. Nevertheless, the Ukrainian received many orders, although she was self-taught. And at the same time, Valentyna was invited to work as a costume designer in different Broadway productions, and her most famous work was the costumes for the musical West Side Story, as it said. But she was working on a lot of others musicals. And due to demand in the early 1930s, Valentina went to Paris to learn some, design skills also. However, this gave her even more inspiration to create something more unique and not copy, already made designs. The young couturier preferred the most the color black. She also diluted this palette with some whites, with olive green, some other greens, and also yellow. And the material selected was obviously of high quality and pretty luxurious, so it was velvet in the first place, chiffon, crepe, muslin. God, what is this correctly in English? And, well, her clothes combined this elegant simplicity, comfort, and luxurious look. And it was she also who introduced into fashion these Chinese jackets and dresses with Japanese obi belts, some turbans, some hazels, dresses and coats with hoods, skirt trousers, and etc. etc. And from the 1930s to the 1950s, Valentina became one of the most successful fashion designers in the United States, actually. It was very surprising to me. All of the Hollywood stars at that time wore this luxurious and at the same time comfortable dresses of her brand. And among them was such actresses as Katharine Hepburn, Paulette Goddard, Claudette Colbert, and many, many more. In the 1940s, Valentina became one of the most fashionable and expensive fashion designers in the United States and the most popular designers of Broadway production. And another also interesting, philosophies we can say of her is that she believed that it is better to create a complete wardrobe from formal to casual for a client than just one look for them, and that's what she did for most. And overall, Valentina had a complex, or I think it would be better even to say complicated, characters. She was very, she did not compromise with her clients and did not allow them to choose the designs or details themselves, actually. And so there is some stories about just, she was literally shutting everyone up if some actresses or some women wanted to certain designs or whatever. She was saying them like, there's the door, I don't know, go somewhere else, because I will not do this, because it does not suit you, and I will not do this what is not what is not suiting you. So everyone was but she was so influential that everyone was listening, and everyone was like, yes, all right, do whatever you need to do, I'm shutting my mouth, and I will just stand there, something like that. So as every diva back in time, she also has a very harsh and pretty dramatic personal life. When they got with he or George to US, but it was in some resources it is said that they got married actually in the US. In others, that they married in Paris already, so they immigrated to US as a married couple. There also, in one source, I saw that it was actually never confirmed that they were married, but well, I don't know. I think that they were married at the end of the day, but there's a lot of different versions, but my personal opinion that they were married, and I think that they married in Europe and they got to US as a married couple, because for immigration I think it's the best scenario to be married rather than not. But what about her personal life? So it's also one of these stories that she's mostly well known. So at a certain point in time in the US, she became a very close friend with Greta Garbo. And this acquaintance was very fateful, as we can say. So, as I said, they became friends, not for very long, but they were very close friends, and they often actually appeared even in public wearing the same outfit, which emphasized their physical similarity. And it is said that they were so similar that people even confused them, and Valentina sometimes signed autographs as Garbo when fans of the actress, approached her. And also Valentina sometimes called herself as gothic version of Garbo. However, I must say, I don't know, maybe I'm not seeing it. I don't know. I'm not really seeing their similarities, but well, I guess in real life they looked way more similar than on photos. I don't know. So Garbo wore clothes created by Valentina in movies, on red carpets, in everyday life, and she became basically like a walking advertisement for the Valentina brand. However, their friendship ended pretty unexpectedly, and as usually because of a man. So Valentina's husband met Greta Garbo when she was like in Valentina's atelier one day, and they fell in love. Well, he fell in love with her first. And, you know, he started to accompany her everywhere and stuff like that. And she at some point reciprocated, you know, she at some point also like fell in love with him. But I'm not really sure, to be honest, that it was really love, and you will see why I'm saying this a little bit later. But also, in true men's fashion, George was not going to leave his wife, and the three of them appeared at all social gatherings at first. When no one knew that Garbo and George had this relationship, even Valentina. And so there were just, you know, three of them constantly everywhere. But then, obviously, with a bit of time passing, people started to question things, and well, Valentina also started to question things. And I'm not sure that, like, that we know how she found out, or maybe they told her themselves that, well, we are in love and everything. But she found out about that, obviously, and yeah, and that was the end of everything. Because Valentina was, well, she was fond of, I guess, of George, and she was, well, kind of maybe also in love with him. I don't know. Well, at least I think they were comfortable together at a certain point, and that's why, you know, it was very harsh reality for Valentina that it happened like that. Plus, her best friend, like best friend was her with her husband. So, you know, it's a tough situation, I think, for everyone. And then George even bought an apartment for Greta in the same building where the couple lived, so, you know, so that Greta would always be nearby. And I think she lived on the upper floors, yes, somewhere something like that. But in 1964, then, it's like just skipping like a decade something, George died of a heart attack while on vacation with Greta. And it was sad that actually, you know, he died because the ER doctors who came, they were so, you know, in shock to see Greta, that they started to ask her for autographs and stuff like that, and that's why they did not, you know, they didn't start to do all this medical procedures in time, and so that's why George died. Well, at least this is what Valentina was saying, that it's all, you know, it is all Greta's fault. And why I'm saying that, why I'm questioning that Greta really liked, like, or loved George, is because she left him there dead, and she got to Paris herself, and Valentina came and took George's body at this point. And then when Valentina was doing all the funeral preparations and the funeral itself and everything, Garbo never showed up. And so this is, you know, that's why I'm questioning what was going on between Garbo and George. Plus, at this point, George was a very rich man, actually. And at the end of the day, George literally left everything to Greta. And again, he was, by this time, a millionaire. And again, what is a millionaire back in 20th century? So he was extremely rich person. And Valentina only got an apartment in New York, where she lived next door to Greta for the rest of their lives. So also, I don't know why they did not move. Maybe they, you know, maybe it was some kind of principle, I don't know, that, well, why the hell do I need to leave or something, I don't know. They even made up a kind of schedule, as it said, so it's not to cross paths anywhere. And it was also in some sources, like in English sources, you will see that it is remembered that she called Garbo, even, like, she was calling the reception on the first floor, I don't know how it's called in these rich houses, and she was like asking, is Miss Garbo already left or something, or like, not Miss Garbo, this is where I'm going, she was calling her a Satan or something like that. So yeah, did Satan left already or not? And yeah, so they had this, like, this kind of schedule, even though in some, again, sources you will see that at some point they actually started to, you know, revive their relationship again, and they were still spending time together sometimes. a lot of English sources actually writing that they were spending all of the holidays, still they were spending them together. So Valentina was inviting Garbo at all of the holidays at least, but I, not sure about this at all. And yeah, so getting back to George, also to Shlee. So as I said, by this time, like, Shlee was, George was a millionaire, a very rich person. And so she left all of this to Garbo. And it was very hard on Sanina, because by this time, actually, she already sold her business for some reasons. And it was somewhere around 1957, and it was actually the peak of her career, of her business. So it's not really known why she did that. She herself was saying that she had no strength left for work, and she didn't want to do this anymore. Yeah, so she sold it, and she continued to live very modestly till the end of her life, and so also, Shlee's inheritance would be very good for her at some point. But also, I remember reading that about living modestly, and I was like, I think that the authors of those articles, they don't really understand what modestly means, because in no way she lived modestly. She lived in a good apartment in New York, in a very good part of the city, and it's still, she needed money to pay for herself to live in this apartment. Obviously it was a modest life compared to other millionaires in New York back in time or whatever, but yeah, but still, at the end of the day, she was not poor in any means, definitely. So for the next years, we don't really know what she was doing. She sold her business, and she, I suppose, was just living her life. I don't know. There's no information between the end of 50s till, well, her death. So she lived to be 90 years old, if we accounting from this date birth that we think is correct. And her funeral was actually held on 84th birthday of Greta Garbo, and a lot of people are writing that it was like, this little revenge of Valentina to Garbo. So, and I don't know actually whether Garbo came to Valentina's funeral or no. They didn't see this information anywhere. And interesting also that in 2012 there was this like auctions, we can say, or some sales, sale of Greta Garbo's belongings, and it turned out that every third item of her clothing was from Valentina. Still. So I would really like actually to see the movie also about, so in my previous video about Elisabeth Vigée-Lebrun, someone commented about that they would like to see the movie about Vigée-Lebrun and Marie Antoinette. It's a really great idea, because when I was like preparing that and was reading back then, it didn't even occur to me that I actually would really like also to see some kind of movie like that, and that would be very unique and interesting. And here also I thought about this, that I would really like actually to see the movie about Greta Garbo and Valentina, and just specifically their relationship. Maybe someone would be able, to get into these deep details and find some kind of like archives or whatever, and find some like more or less truthful info about her, because again, as I said about Valentina, because as I mentioned at the beginning, that Valentina was lying quite a bit, and she was also, in the US for some period of time she was telling that she was coming actually from a wealthy, very wealthy families, like Russian families and everything, and that's why, a lot of Russians obviously are claiming her, while also journalists from the West who are not interested in checking infos, they are also constantly writing that she was a Russian designer, like American designer of Russian descent. Well, she was not. Well, she was a Ukrainian. So yeah, this is unfortunately everything that I was able to find about her. When I saw her, first of all, her as a human being, as a woman, I was just like, I was mesmerized. As I said, she is the epitome of my taste, of like how, you know, how I like women, as you can say. Even though I'm straight, but still, I was very, I mean, those photos, her portraits and everything, she is extremely beautiful. Then I saw her designs also, and this is also I mean, this is the epitome of my taste. Like, this is literally how I would like to dress myself every single day. And so I thought that, well, I need to search about her a bit. Plus, I mean, she's a Ukrainian and everything, and unfortunately we don't really know a lot about her. And yeah, you know, sometimes we have here some of our medias, they are digging up certain masters of different genres, and they're reminding us that, well, we have these people who unfortunately we lost to, well, fortunately they're alive, and I mean lost in terms of like their physical presence in like in terms of Ukraine and everything, and so they became, you know, part of other nations, nations masters and everything. But still, at the end of the day, they are also, we can also claim them. And yeah, and so I saw one of these articles dedicated to her, and again, I was very interested. I saw her photos, I saw her designs, and I was like, I need to like look into you. Maybe somewhere in the future. It's like, you know, with Karinska also, another Ukrainian designer, but a ballet designer. She was doing ballet designs. Also, never heard about her. Found out about her the same way. Saw some kind of article about Karinska, and I was just like, whoa, who are you? Because, you know, also she was doing a lot of beautiful things. I have a video about her actually, so you can watch if you want. And yeah, so this is everything that I have for today, unfortunately, but still, I hope that it was interesting for you, and you got this you were aesthetically pleased the same way as I was when I was looking at her photos and her designs and everything. And yeah, well, I still hope that you found this video interesting, and you found something new for yourself, and you found a new name for yourself today. This is the most important for me, as usually. I wish you all the best and a lot of inspiration to your art, because I'm seeing that those videos are landing to a lot of artists. So I wish all of you a lot of inspiration with your art, and success also with your art. So yeah, this is everything that I have for you for today, and we'll hope to see you in the next videos. Bye bye.